Okay, so we're here for the Estonian Film Week, and we have guests with us, Anna Hint and Tushar Prakash. They'll be presenting today Sauna Day and tomorrow Smoke Sauna Sisterhood. And I think it would be nice if you quickly introduce yourselves. I'm sure you will do it better than I can, so if I can give it up to you.
We'll start with Anna.
No, start.
My name is Tushar Prakash. I am from India, but I live in Estonia now. I am one of the editors for Smoke Sauna Sisterhood and one of the directors for Sauna Day.
And which school you studied?
I am a graduate of the National Film School, the Łódź Film School, which is also known as the National Polish Film School, but the world knows it as the Lord's Film School.
Hello, my name is Anna, and I'm a film director with a background in contemporary art and experimental folk music, and Smoke Sauna Sisterhood is my first long documentary that I did 7 years. 2 years from that was editing, and one of the editors, as Tushar said, was you. And now we're together writing our first long fiction. And I think being a filmmaker is, it's like never-ending journey of growing as a human being. And I'm very excited and very happy to be so blessed in that journey.
Thank you very much. Maybe one of the things that we'll talk about is that when I initially heard about these films and started looking into it and to the projects, I thought that maybe the short was a proof of concept for the feature, but then I understood that no, it was the other way around, if I'm correct. First there was the feature documentary, and then you decided to do a short. And the common ground is, of course, the sauna, the sacred space of the sauna. And maybe one of the things that you can tell us a little bit about is the sauna culture in Estonia, and why was that such a relevant issue for you to dedicate not one, but 2 films to it?
Yeah, so I was born into the culture, actually indigenous culture of Southeast Estonia. It's a specific cultures of Võro and Seto, where I have roots in. And for us, it's not just sauna, but it is smoke sauna. There's a big difference. And smoke sauna is really this a spiritual place where you go, where you wash your body, but also you wash your soul. And it is a fascinating space. And as a filmmaker, for me, it is fascinating space in terms of like a canvas, like a dark canvas to explore human condition and intimacy. And then you said like proof of concept. For me, I don't see short films as proof of concepts. For me, short film is like the task of a short film is, like in poetry, in when we talk about literature, how to find that poem or how to create that poem. I feel that I have made the same mistake myself, especially in the student films, of that my short films were like wannabe long films. I see the problem in many films there. And while making Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, and in that 7-year process, seeing women sharing their utmost secrets and opening up so vulnerable in this kind of dark cosmic womb, there naturally came this question for both of us, that why is it so that even though in our culture we have this space, safe space, to be really vulnerable and intimate, that women use, but men do not? And especially this insight became stronger when the film was out and I was traveling with it throughout Estonia. And then men came and said like, why is it so? They said, like, why is it so that when we go, referring to them, they go to smoke sauna, they talk about the bullshit, not about the real shit, and they avoid intimacy, and that became an interest for us, like how to, and in that way it is like. It's connected with Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, of course, through the space, but at the same time, it is also very different from it. So it's like another sentence, or like if in one film there was giving space for all these women to voice out everything they feel, then in the other was like how to capture the unsaid and how to capture the avoidance of the intimacy. And it just came. This idea came in the process of making Smoke Sauna Sisterhood. And there were people who said, like, oh, no, this is such a bad idea, you know, going to the shorts, because shorts are such underdogs in the hierarchy of film industry. But now, actually, I'm so happy, and now people are also around us telling that they were wrong, that actually, you know, you have finished, like, long film, traveling the whole world with the Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, and you know, now we premiered in Cannes, in Critics Week, in Toronto, and going around with it, and it gives, actually, it's like beautiful. It's like a poem between the long novels. You want to add something?
I think the smoke sauna is like a stage. It's like a canvas, and it's a canvas where human drama, human conditions, human stories can be explored, and Anna explored that in Smoke Sauna Sisterhood. We explored one aspect of it in Sauna Day. Who knows, in later projects it might surface again in some form. It is a very inspiring space. It's a very integral space in Anna's life, in our life. And regarding the short, the format, I feel every story has its format. Every story has its format, has its length, has its yes, there are some things that are said best in a haiku, some things that are said best in a poem, some things that are said best in a novel, some things that are said best in an epic. And somehow this story that came to us, I think it is best said in the way it is being said, in the duration that it is being said. And that was also a very strong discovery for us.
It's important to say that even though the boundaries might be quite blurred in some point, that that Smoke Sauna Sisterhood is categorized as a documentary, and with women in the center stage, and that Sauna Day is a fiction with men in the center stage, and we already understood a little bit of how one led to the other, about the openness and about, you know, you phrase it beautifully, about the real shit or the bullshit. Men talking about a roof and women talking about some of the most profound experiences of their lives. And, you know, I don't want to go into some sort of stereotype, national stereotype. It's actually not been my experience being a teacher at BFM and traveling to Estonia quite often for the last 10 years. But there is a little bit of an idea of reservedness, of, you know, not speaking so much about, you know, one's own situation, one's own problems. Is the sauna a little bit, the smoke sauna, a little bit like a catalyst where things sort of pour out?
Yes, absolutely. It is a catalyst, and I can talk of my own experience that actually has led to the impulse to make Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, that opened my eyes to how Smoke Sauna functions. It's from the time when I was 11. My grandfather had just died, and his body was in the country farmhouse, and we went to smoke sauna one day before funeral, because this is what you do. You go to smoke sauna in important occasions, and also smoke sauna is a place where women used to give birth and wash the dead and heal. for centuries. So we went there. It was my granny, my aunt, my niece, and their granny revealed that grandfather had actually cheated on her, not just once or twice, but very many times, and lived with another woman for several years. And she released all the emotions connected with that. And I remember as an 11-year-old, watching that, it suddenly, there came out, there was like shame, there was this question of why she was not enough, there was like anger, there was hurt. All this started to come up. And it took several times, you're there. And once we went out, we put clothes on, I felt that Granny had made peace with grandfather, and we could bury him in peace. And that was the experience. Later now, I've realized of, okay, what washing the soul is, So it's before that, okay, you wash your body, but washing the soul. And I've thought about it while doing the Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, that it's very important factor. There is this, the whole atmosphere, the darkness, but like this kind of allowance for the heat to bring out from the depth of your body all the emotions and stories. So, for example, talking about Smoke Sauna Sisterhood and how to make it, it was very integral for me that it has to be real hot smoke sauna. Because otherwise, what stories would come out? Like all the stories you hear, they are naturally coming out in front of the camera. They were not scripted. So, and many cinematographers told me that this is not possible. That no, you have to fake it. Yes, it will fog up. But then I learned important lesson is like, okay, you have to, when you know that this is so integral part of the film, this film would not be without it, then you just have to stick on to your vision and find and look for the right people. And then came the right person, Ants Tammik, with whom we shot, and Ants was like, okay, it's a big challenge, but we're going to figure it out. And we figured it out. And I think that's in filmmaking one of the things, like how to understand what is important, where you can make a compromise, and what is really, what is not so important, where you can make compromise, and what is so important that there are no compromises. So yes, heat and the whole, also the spiritual context of this space. When you enter smoke sauna in the southeast Estonia, we see the building as a subject, not an object. So we greet the smoke sauna, and we have chants, special chants there, and to release, and not just physical toxins, but emotional toxins. And for me, when I experienced that experience with my granny as an 11-year-old, I realized that, okay, on this earth, there is a safe space where absolutely all your emotions, all your experiences can be shared, can be heard. And I understood that, from my body, I understood that when we give voice to our story and when we give space to hear other stories, then there is healing. And from that root, the film is born. And that's why it's so like authentic place to me, and why I knew that the film will come together.
I did find myself thinking often about that. On one hand, it felt like it wasn't fake, because you could feel the steam, you could see the steam, you could see the sweat, you could see all of that. But I found myself thinking, is the crew also there in the heat? How do they manage? How do they do this? Are they also naked because of the heat? How is this connecting part between the filmmakers and the characters? One of the things I have to say, and I haven't said this yet, but obviously a very long and successful career for both films in international festivals. One of them, Smoke Sauna, getting the Best Director award at Sundance, and now Sauna Day premiering at Critics Week in Cannes. So obviously it has had repercussion. It has found an audience worldwide. one of the things that struck me was, especially considering the documentary in a sauna space, the care that was put into the image, into the sound. But maybe I think one of the things that's more relevant for this conversation, and that you can elaborate a little bit, is on the process. You know, how did you find or cast these women? How was the research process to get them to tell the stories? You've already said nothing is scripted, so these stories come from their own experience, from their own reality. How did you go about finding them and going through that entire process until shooting? You mentioned 7 years, so it must have been a long process of research and discovering your characters. And then how many hours did you have going into the editing process, and how did you structure that?
Yeah, you mentioned process. For me, that is one of the key words in filmmaking. What is the process? It's like the how is also reflecting in the result. And the image, image is very important to me. I have a degree in photography, so I'm super demanding in my photography, and actually the challenge regarding the image was regarding the glance of the camera, because already from the first courses in photography school, I remember how the professor came and said, you know, there is not such a thing as an objective camera. Yeah, there is always subjectivity in camera. There is always a glance, and at the same time we have naked female bodies, and naked female bodies are being viewed through the glance in society, through sexualization, through objectification, very much. So my big fear was actually like how to make sure that this non-sexual glance that is inside the smoke sauna when we are there with the women, without the non-sexual being like without the judgment, how to make sure that this comes to the film. So for that, me and cinematographer, we went to smoke sauna together, and we really took time to calibrate our camera to find that glance, filming my body, and finding this like language together where I felt safe. And then talking about the women, because I come from the culture, so I had the access. It's like there was already a lot of trust in me because of that, cultural heritage. But then I wanted the women to know how we are treating their bodies through our camera. So what we had filmed, I showed it before any filming. I showed it to the women so that they would see how is our language. And they all felt very good, very safe. And we were also following who wanted to show their face, who didn't want to show their face. So that part was very important in creating this trust, because it's like I didn't just ask them to be naked, like body, like full-on naked, yeah, emotionally, everything. Then we spent time together. We were filming so that I was basically a lot of times living in the countryside, and then the crew came there, and then, we were spending time in this kind of South Estonian farm, making fire together, going to swim in the pond, and really like there was trust. And I think trust in general is the most important asset in the filmmaking as a director, also like how to create that trust and how to hold that trust. And talking of trust, I knew that I will not convince anyone, that this film can only be made with not me going and, like convincing, hey, come, it's a good film. No, because then it would go against the nature of what this film is about, like giving space to these women and their voices, so that I cannot overpower with my voice them. So how this casting, let's say, how this casting or call for the women was that coming from the culture, I met them, I said very openly what the film is going to be about. And because they all come from the culture, they know it. It's like, okay, that's going to be the real thing. Yeah, the real thing. Like, you know, we go to smoke sauna together. Are you in or are you out? And I continued the conversation only with those who said, yes, we are in. And when I sensed that there was hesitation or no, I didn't convince. And that was super important, to make this kind of film and to have no objections later. You don't convince. No convincing at all. Because the power to share has to come from within the women. But what was interesting, as I said, 7 years it took for several reasons. Also, production reason. The first producer died, unfortunately, and I mean all crazy things happened. But in these 7 years, or let's say filming was 6 years, also I felt maybe the society changed a bit. So what started to happen was that some women who in the beginning said no or maybe, they started to contact me. And there was this Me Too movement, and so I've been thinking about that. Maybe they felt, or somehow they were ready for this film. So they started to contact me, and then it even went so far that people that I didn't know at all, they started to contact me. And once we were in the countryside filming, and a woman drew her car. I didn't know who she was. She drew a car, she came out from the car, and she was like, where is the smoke sauna? I want to be in the film. And she ended up being in the film. So it started to really live its life. And I think that is how I work. I work with not convincing somebody, but creating this kind of safety and trust and allowance and the feeling that we are creating it together. And I know, I had my experience from one short documentary that we did before. I'm not happy about that documentary. It was a short one, and it was where me and my mother went to the monastery. And we did a 26 days of silence retreat, and it was about our relationship. And it was a terrible experience, because my mom in the beginning wanted to do the film, then she didn't want to do, then she wanted to do, and it was I would have loved to stop that process. And I knew, and from that process I learned that no more convincing. And you are in the game or not, yes. And it's the same I feel with actors. I don't need to convince the actor. We have been talking a lot about it with you. Maybe you want to add.
You might need to convince the non-actors for a fiction film, but yes, not the actors. Should I answer regarding the editing of the film that you asked? So I was brought on first to assist Anna in going through the footage, because there were these 7 years of footage, lot of footage that had been shot, and I was brought on in the beginning to help her go through the footage, log it, sort it, categorize it, and just kind of, she trusted me, so to just help her with whatever thoughts that she had, whatever ideas that she had. And there was supposed to be a shorter process. It became longer, and then I was also asked on to help her in making the first cut of the film, and the first assembly-ish rough cut of the film. And what happened was that while we were going through the footage, I noticed that basically Anna had caught these miracles over these 7 years. She caught these miracles in front of the camera. Over those 7 years, she had caught these miracles in front of the camera. There was this, it almost felt like something magical is unfolding. There's something magical unfolding, and it's beautiful that a camera is there to document this. and and my process just became, because I'm not a professional editor. I studied as a director. I'm a scriptwriter also, and editing is something that I've done. So I could just help her as a storyteller, and and my method just became to help her in finding a way to tell the story where all those miracles can be a part of the film. like how do we find a form of telling a movie where these miracles don't fall out? Because often it can happen that, we try to follow this method, that method, why this character, but how can we find a technique where it doesn't matter, all these academic questions don't matter. What matters is that there is a miracle. How do we keep this miracle? How do we go to the next miracle? How do we find a form where it just goes from miracle to miracle to miracle? And I mean, there is excellent footage. What we also don't have in the movie is excellent footage, but we have to make choices, and that's what we have. And yeah, so these miracles, and it even reached a point where, just to answer because you had also asked about the process, and it feels like the crew is in the space documenting this sisterhood. And it even reached a point where we decided that if the camera is fogging up, if it's out of focus, if there is water coming on the lens, let's not, it doesn't matter. Even if there's a point where where Ans felt that I need to zoom in, it's an instinctive decision that he felt that, okay, in this moment I need to zoom in. Let's keep it. Maybe it's not used anywhere else in the film, but in this shot, let's keep it, because it just feels instinctive. So it was a very, and that was Anna's approach during shooting, very, very bodily approach towards the film. And we tried to keep that on the edit also, like, let's also feel that, let's not think about academics so much, but at least in the stage where I was working with her, it was a lot about, let's keep these miracles, let's keep this out of focus, let's keep, the camera's trying to find it. And that was a joy to work on, that to follow that process. And that's how we approached a bit of the editing. That's how we started, at least, the process of doing it.
I'll segue directly from that into Sauna Day, because I assume that from that collaboration, Sauna Day was born, with a jump into fiction and with a jump into into the male world. One of the things that I would dare say is that the fiction was thoroughly inspired by the documentary in terms of style and in terms of even directing the actors, the general visual approach. It drank a lot, or it sweated a lot from the Sauna Day process that you were already from the sisterhood process, which you had already gone. And then I don't know how there's a theme that comes there. I mean, the film was one of the nominees for the Queer Palm Award, and so there's, in this male toxicity, I get toxic masculinity of Estonian society, of several other societies like our own. There was a subtle glance there of how men sometimes cover up their own passions, desires, whatever, instead of opening up like the women did in the sauna. Can you tell us a little bit about how that idea was structured, how you jumped into those characters, how you discovered those characters in the fictional writing process?
You want to start off?
Of the code switching, you want to?
Okay, I can talk about the code switching. So one of the essential things that we are trying to explore in the movie is the concept of code switching. That how, when we are talking, when we are conversing, when we are using words, we are perhaps conforming to an idea of a gender in society. What does this gender mean in the society? And then when the spoken word is removed, when the spoken word is removed, when the door is closed, when everybody's gone, then a different language starts, a language which is beyond gender. So code switching was a very important part in this movie, and for that, what we had to also do was that we had to form this unit between the quote unquote men who are in the sauna. And well, it's not sisterhood, it's a different process, they're men. So what we did before we started shooting, actually, was we actually built the roof. We built the roof. They built the roof that they're talking about in the sauna.
For 3 days.
For 3 days, they built the roof to form that unit, where that honesty comes in. So that also, so yes, you're saying to drink from the process, even to the extent where to blur the line between what is documentary and fiction, to prepare in that way where when they're in the sauna, they are a unit, they are a community also. So they formed that community before the sauna session. They went and they built those roofs for 3 days. They became a unit, and then they entered the sauna. I think you can talk about the community from there.
Yeah, so what you mean by the unit is what I think we both love is working with non-actors and actors together. So the two actors who stay in this sauna, they're actors, but one is from the community in the southeast Estonia, and we were actually filming in his farm, and what the task was like I mentioned before also, like how to depict this what is not talked about, and how also to depict this this play of with the rituals, like this ritual of vihting that you see in whisking, vihtumine that you see in the film. This is very allowed. It is a very allowed ritual that men do, that women do. But how to make a film where my relatives from the south, these men, watch it and they see it like, oh yeah, they are vihting. Basically, of two men who were inspired for this film, they can see it as their love story. So it's like, and what happens is that the queerness has been, especially in the very traditional society, like in the southeast Estonia where we were filming, you have to like mask it, you have to hide it, because the moment you say out the words, you like make it visible, something that somebody can attack you, or something that somebody can outcast you with. So it's like how to show these intimacy between those two men in the concept of this tradition and rituals. And what was interesting, when the film was shown in Raekoja plats in Tartu in South Estonia, there was huge audience, we got two feedbacks. Like we had, people like very from traditional families, and these men came to me and was like, yeah, this is exactly like Estonian men, they don't talk about things, yeah, this is exactly, I relate to this. When I broke up with my wife, we did the same, with my friend, this vihting. You don't need to say anything. And then we had the community members from the queer community who were like, yeah, this is exactly like it is. So we were happy, because that was our goal.
We have run out of time because we have to go to the screening now, and I'm glad to hear that from this collaboration a new project is coming. We'll be looking out for it. We don't know if it involves sauna or not. I understand from researching that the ritual of sauna and the singing and the welcoming into the sauna is an important part of the process. Would you like to invite the people to come to our screening? Would you like to? I'm not asking you to necessarily sing. You don't have to. But how the whispering, the ritual of welcoming people into the sauna? Can you tell us just a little bit of how that's done?
I mean, all this is the chanting and the whispering, and it is the roots for that are in the belief that what we say has power, and when we put like chanting, like a melody, or like we put this strength into this. This is how we create the world. It becomes stronger, and when I was researching about smoke sauna chants from our folklore archives, I saw that a lot of the chants that were done for baby girls, when a baby girl was born, then they were about chanting that the girl should be beautiful, get married as soon as possible, and not become a slut. And then I was like, I give this as an example of that when we come from a tradition, it doesn't mean that we don't have a choice. We have a choice. So I have a choice to change the words. I'm not going to chant these things in smoke sauna, but I pass on the power of chanting. So, I mean, actually, when you go to sauna, you don't so much, you just say, tere, tere, sannakene, tere, tere. You know, you greet the smoke sauna. But what I did, it started with Sundance, and then it peaked in European Film Awards, where instead of the speech, I was singing. When we got the Best Documentary Award, this is the Aitüma chant, this is the thank you chant, and this is integral part of leaving smoke sauna, that you thank the space, you thank the fire, you thank the water, you thank everything. And I encourage people to use their own words and try this in whatever sauna they go to, because it's super healing and powerful. So I can say, Aitüma, 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 Ait. Aitüma, 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 Ait.
Thank you so much. Anna, Tushar, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for the Estonian Embassy for organizing this Estonian Film Week and for bringing you to Lusofona University. And now let's enjoy the screening of Sauna Day and tomorrow the Smoke Sauna Sisterhood. Thanks.